One kidding, no kidding, as I said. All right, we are back. Oh my gosh. You know, I say all the time, when I have to be the technology IT person, we are in real trouble. So it's important to understand this is us, not Aubree. We just couldn't find a way to connect. So Aubree, thanks for being with us.
I'm here. Thanks for having me.
So this is Aubree Wilson. If you watched last week, you know Mr. Wilson, Dean Wilson was on. This is the Aubree he was referencing. So it's really lovely to see you, Aubree, and we're really happy to be getting your side of this challenging story that ultimately has a happy ending.
It does.
So congratulations.
Yay.
First of all, Aubree. That's incredible.
Thank you.
So you tell us where you want to start and sort of your from there to here moment. Mr. Wilson went all the way back to when you were, I think, an 8th grader, but you can go back as far as you want and just start where you want to talk.
Okay, well, yeah, I listened to his podcast with you guys, so that's interesting. I didn't like him for the day after. No, I'm just kidding.
No. It must have been hard to hear.
Yes, it must have been.
It was hard. It was emotional to hear. And it's crazy because there was things that he said that, obviously from my trauma and my past, whatever, I have PTSD from it. And I go to a therapist who does DMVR with me, which is amazing. So if anybody wants, I don't know if I said that right, but it's an amazing thing.
Okay.
And it works. It
What
really helps
is
me
it, Aubree?
process. So it's this thing that she'll do with me, and it's for people that have PTSD. And it's so weird though, because it's like you listen to your favorite music, and then you think of a time that was hard for you, and then she plays this favorite music, and your eyes follow a dot on a screen, and then she'll pause the music, and you have to blink 3 times. That's it. And like I thought this was baloney. But after I've been doing it for a while, more things have been coming back to me in my memory that I have blocked out.
Wow.
And so it's something that I do, and it helps me. It's amazing. But me saying that right now is because one of the things my dad said was about the urine with my sisters.
Yeah.
And I went to my sister after I listened to the podcast, and I said, "Did I do that to you?" Had no memory of it. And she was like, "Yeah, you did." And I said, "I'm so sorry." Like, they're still healing. And it's been years, you know?
Yeah.
So it's crazy how that works. So there was like some things that he said on there that I don't remember doing. But yeah. And then when she said yes, I was like, oh my gosh, she was telling the truth. So I was like, I was bad.
You weren't bad, Aubree. You were just in a bad spot.
I was, exactly. And so, yeah, so I just had to say that. But I would say, like my dad said, like it was I was a straight A student. I loved everybody, helped everybody. I would, with the girls that had disabilities, I got them ready for prom. I was a well-liked person. And to me, when things started was when I didn't make the hockey team.
Okay.
And I was tried out for Fargo South, and I didn't make Fargo South. And so I stayed on to the U16 team, and it was more, so I lost like a lot of my good friends that I had.
Oh, yeah.
And so, because they were all in the Fargo South and I wasn't. And so I feel that that's when I started kind of going down. And then I was getting attention. I always say it's my dad's fault because everyone was scared. All the hockey players were scared of my dad because he was their coach, you know? So these good guys that should have liked me or whatever were too scared to like me.
Yeah.
And then these gangster boys, they weren't scared. And so I, started dating people that were rough around the edges or whatever you want to say. And I just slipped away. And yeah, it was hard. I remember like the things that I did. It was crazy. My dad said I snuck out of the basement. I didn't care. And I still remember that. I just remember like just thinking like I didn't care. I liked being with my friends rather than my family.
Yeah.
And then I just started, it starts from marijuana to this and that, drinking, and then it started with meth. And at first, like I was just a smoker. I just smoked it. And then it just persisted, where then I became an IV user at the end of it all. So yeah, yep. But it's crazy. And so from now, I think like I'm kind of just babbling here, but I was using until well, then I got pregnant with Phoenix, and that was in 2010. And I sobered up during that time. And then I had Phoenix, and I started using again. Yeah. And I know that there was a thing there. You guys asked, like, when did I stop, or what stopped me or whatever. And it was Phoenix. Yeah. It was definitely Phoenix. And I was on probation. And I remember my parole officer, she told me that I'll either go to prison. And I know going to prison, if I, didn't comply with whatever I had to do, that Phoenix would have been taken away from me. And I was like, I need to get help. I don't know what to do. And Sisters Path program is what saved me. And I actually had an article in the Area Woman magazine about it. But yeah, it saved me. And I was there for 19 months with Phoenix. It was a place, and it breaks my heart knowing that they don't have it anymore. Oh. But it was a place that saved me. And I know it saved 3 other girls that I know still today that are sober. Yeah. And I was there, and it was like my own apartment. It was just a place where it was a long-term facility that I could get away, because that's the thing is people say these 30 days, it's going to do the trick. And it may so with like alcohol or whatever, but when you're in harder drugs, it's harder. Yeah. You have to get away from those people. You have to figure out how to get a job and then maintain that job. How do you pay your bills? I learned how to cook there. They always make a funny story of me is I made, it was chocolate chip banana muffins or something. Okay. And I made them, and it said cinnamon sticks and whatever, and eggs or whatever. And so my friend took a bite, and she goes, Aubree, what's the piece of wood in here? And I said, it said cinnamon sticks. I just threw the cinnamon sticks in there. I didn't know that. I was like, it said cinnamon.
That was the Bedelia move, Aubree.
I know. My friend said, so when they say eggs, you just throw the whole egg in too? So I learned so much stuff in parenting and everything else. It was a great, great program. And then I was sober, and then they get you into your own place, and everyone's good with that. And then I was sober for about 5 years, and I had a relapse. I did. It happens. And it's still really hard for me today to even know that I had a relapse. And it just stinks because you don't want to be like, all right, now I had 5 years. And it was such an accomplishment, and I know it still is, but it just really hurt to know I had to start over. And so now, because I know my dad didn't know of my actual date, but my date is now May 20th, 2018. I've been sober since then. Yep. And that's because I almost lost a relationship with my family again, with my boyfriend that I'm with right now. I was losing it again. And I was like, I was so depressed. And I think a lot with that relapse of what happened is I moved away from my parents. It was in Osgood. It was a nice townhouse, but my car broke down. I lost all transportation. I was going to school. It was all these stressors, depression hit. And I was also doing courses for my social work degree that triggered a lot of things in my life. And so this is my social work thing in myself is what I think. That's why I relapsed. And so I had that relapse, and it's scary because you know what? It came out of nowhere. Yeah. And that's what's so scary about addiction is it slips up on you, and it's an everyday battle. It really is. So I kind of babbled. I'm sorry. I don't know.
No, it's your story, Aubree. It's right. We're not here to tell you your story.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for sharing that. When we invited Mr. Wilson on, I really debated asking him to ask you because I didn't want us to talk about your story around you as if you don't have agency in your own story. But I also knew that if he came on and told his side of the story, it would sort of force your hand to have to come on and tell your side. And I didn't want to do that either. So I really appreciate you saying yes, whether it was out of a desire to say yes or because you felt like you had to. We really appreciate it because it's not easy to talk about this stuff.
It's not.
I don't care how far down the path you are. I don't care if you're the spouse or the parent or the addict. It's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard to admit this stuff because we've attached so much failure and shame to it.
Yeah. And it's sad, and it's
So, one thing that I've been thinking about since we had last week's conversation is I knew pieces of your story.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom and I are, neighborhood friends. So she would say things like, Aubree and Phoenix have moved into a great apartment full of moms
Yeah.
and children. And, I was a single mom with one
Yeah.
boy for the first 10 years of Quinn's life. I mean, Maz was in the picture, but he wasn't living with us.
Yeah.
My best friend and her daughter lived below us. So even though it wasn't a formal program, it was exactly like what you
It
were.
was, yeah.
So I didn't think anything of that story beyond the idea of, oh, it's so great that she's found a network, because a network is so important.
So important.
But aside the addiction piece, just single parenting is difficult.
It really is. Yeah.
No,
I
I
agree
mean,
everywhere.
you had the additional responsibility of taking care of another person. And I know how involved your family has been, but at the end of the day, he is still your child.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how have you managed that? Because now you have two and you have a third one coming.
I know. Yep. I don't know what I'm thinking.
I wasn't sure if you mentioned that one or not.
Well, I only did because Mr. Wilson did.
Is it official?
Oh yeah, that's great. I know. I heard that too. I was like, yep, and another one on the way.
Well, congratulations.
But you know what? It's so much easier. And like I said, with that program, because I was in institutions, beforehand when I was younger, but I didn't want it then.
Yeah.
It was this program that I knew I needed and I wanted in order to be a good parent for my son. And it's still, because obviously I still have depression, I'm on medications for this.
Yeah.
And so it's always an everyday struggle, but I think that's just parenting, right? Yeah. Parenting is the hardest thing you can do in life or be, because it's like, yeah, the choices you have to make, but it's good. And like you said, the support system and the network, like, I don't know what I would do without my family. I really don't. My family, my boyfriend, my close friends, and I'm still friends with people that, a lot of people that are struggling with addiction also. And I've lost a lot of friends, through addiction, and that's hard. And that's the most has been this year.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. And then the ones that it just doesn't click for is even harder.
Yeah.
So, I'm really curious, Aubree, because I was so shocked to hear Mr. Wilson say Phoenix is 10. I feel like he should be 6. So the fact that he's 10 knocked me over. But how are you thinking about helping him navigate through these years coming up? Because he's an outgoing, friendly, helpful kid. So he's clearly your byproduct.
Yep.
How are you helping him think about this? Because that must be a fear for you.
It's a huge fear. And especially his father also, he was an addict also, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
And he is doing well, by the way, though. He's in federal prison, but he's doing well.
I knew he was in prison, but you can be very successful there. I mean,
yes, exactly. And then the communication with him in Phoenix, but it's hard with Phoenix because Phoenix has these questions and these concerns. And for me, I was told by a lady way back in the day, and she said, never to tell your child about his father. Let him learn. And so I have never talked negative about Jordan to Phoenix.
Yeah.
I have never done that because I'm worried for when he does get out too, with Phoenix. And I'm worried Phoenix seeing his dad in prison, knowing that I was in jail, knowing that I went through my addiction. I want Phoenix to be aware of it all. And it was really hard for me. And honestly, it was just probably last year that he found out that I was actually in jail before. And I said, yeah, I made a bad choice. And that's what happened. Because I didn't want him to know that, to like make it think like, oh, my mom was in there, it's going to be okay for me.
Right.
Because that's what I was worried about. But so I've been just really trying to keep that open conversation and just tell him, like, no, it's not okay. Or smoking cigarettes. Like, I was a smoker. That stuff is gross, Phoenix. That's why I quit, And one thing that I know growing up that I believe is a huge impact with all children is keeping them involved in the school. Yeah. And that's either sports or music or just anything.
Yeah.
And that is going to be my one goal for sure in keeping that up with him.
Yeah.
Just being like, you had to pick something.
Yeah.
Because once I didn't make that Fargo South team and lost those friends and that connection, I had no other things. I was bored, didn't have anything else to do. And so that is my one goal. So of my parenting skills with him.
I think that's a really a really powerful reminder, because you're right. I think loner kids, we all fill our days with something. And
Yep,
school,
exactly.
you know, you don't leave school and run home to study. I know there are those few kids who do, but most of us do not do
Right.
that. And so what are the things that can engage you in those kind of dangerous hours
Hmm.
where if you're bored, you're going to maybe make bad choices, and if you're engaged, you're going to hopefully make better choices, because
Exactly.
Yeah.
you'll be with other people who are lifting you up, not pulling you down. And that's, boy, I don't want to make blanket statements about kids who are not making great choices either, because
Hmm.
the path to growing up isn't easy for anybody.
It's not,
And
exactly.
and what I said to you at the beginning is true. You weren't a bad person. You made some bad choices, but find the person who hasn't made some bad choices.
Exactly.
You know, so
Exactly.
your bad choices had pretty hefty challenges attached to them, but that doesn't make you a bad
Yep.
person.
Yes, exactly.
So what are you doing? Now you're a social worker, Aubree.
I know.
My
I
gosh,
know.
you
Yeah.
surrounded yourself with both the blessing of your experience and maybe the challenge of being in an environment that reminds you of your experience. How are you navigating that?
I know. I love it. Well, there was a part where I remember being with a social worker, and she was telling me, why are you using these drugs? They're not good for you. This is not, da, da, da. And I said, have you done them before? And she told me no. And I said, they don't talk to me. And so after that, I still remember saying that, because I don't know, I must have felt bad afterwards or something. But I was like, I'm going to be that social worker. And a little girl that's going to come to me and say the same thing to me and be like, yep, I did do that. And so I will sit here and talk to you and give you hope and know that, you can do this. And that was my one goal, like really why I wanted to be a social worker. I wanted to get back to those social workers that never gave up on me
Yeah.
and kept pushing me, just like my family.
Yeah.
Like, you heard what I put them through, and I still think wow. And like when you guys were talking about their marriage, their children, the other kids, like props to my parents. Seriously.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
yeah.
Incredible,
Hmm.
incredible human beings.
And
We
yeah,
got
and they
that,
just never
we
gave
got
up
that
on me, and that's what
beforehand.
people
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
Because once you like don't have that, because I've just noticed like a lot of the treatments that I've been in, when you don't have that support around you, you have to go home to people that are drinking and you're trying not to drink yourself. That's playing with fire. It's not going to work.
Well, you are clearly an incredibly wonderful, level-headed person. How much of this have you already shared with your children? I mean, are you gonna be a sort of, this is how it is, or the first disappointment? Are you going to be extra vigilant, do you think, or you're just going to let it roll and say, look, we all know disappointments. Here's what happened to me in my disappointment. I mean, how are you going to deal with that?
You know what? I have asked myself that, um, because there's things that Phoenix is going through right now with friends of his own. And it freaks me out. These kids are 10 and 11. It freaks me out. And I think I haven't had to address him in any situations so far, but just have heard it from other friends of his, or the social media, if they have the Snapchats, because I check it and I'm like, no, you can't. He just got it this year, and still it's stressing me out.
Yep.
Because you don't know who's adding your children or not, and it's
Oh,
freaky.
yeah.
But the Snapchat that I see these kids, what they're doing, I'm like, Phoenix, like, you don't know, you can't, like, stuff's not okay. And he tells me, and that's what's impressive there. Let me back up. First, when I noticed is I let him and his friend have these two girls stay the night. This was just this last year. And they play ball together, the kids or whatever. And I was like, yeah, the girls can stay the night. Just have them downstairs in our guest room, and then the boys will be upstairs. And Phoenix messaged me at like 11 o'clock. He goes, Mom, they're messaging me, telling me to sneak downstairs. And I was like, Mama Bear came out.
yep.
But right there was just like this point where I was just like, Phoenix, thank you for telling me. Like, I feel so much better. But I'm very upfront with him. And like the question that you asked is like, how will I go? Like, if there is the mistakes that he does do, or if something does happen, I want him to know that he can tell me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to freak out on him, but I'm going to let him know, like, it's not okay. And there's going to be a punishment for this.
Yep.
And it's so hard because it's like, I was there, I know, and I know it's hard, and the pressure that these kids get and the social media that they see and want to be like, and it's so hard, this generation that's coming around. I'm scared for them.
I am too, a little bit, because the access to grown-up stuff is so
Yes.
much more available. And boy, I think there's amazing things about social media, amazing things, but there's
Yeah.
also really, really scary things. And teenagers have always known how to find their own trouble.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we needed help for them to have it be easier.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Aubree, what's next for you now? So you're percolating this third little person. You've got
I know, yep.
and you're having a third one. What else is on your horizon now that you are back on track again? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to having a family, just being, with my kids. And Phoenix loves it. He loves his little sister. And she and him are the cutest together. Like last night at the pool, they just kept running back up to him and giving him a kiss, and then would go back in the pool and get back up. And he's like, "Mom, I love her." So I love being a parent. And it's just cool seeing that, especially because they don't have the same fathers, and you always worry about that with your children. Like,
Yep.
Is this connection going to be good? But it's just like, full blood.
Well,
But yeah.
it's great proof that biology is just such a small part of what makes a family.
Oh, for sure. Yes. And with my career, I have not yet stopped yet. I'm still going to be doing some amazing things, and I have amazing goals for sorry, the dog's up here distracting me. But yeah, amazing goals and treatments that I want to establish foundations again, like a sister's path. Yeah. I feel that we have our overdoses have gone up again, and a huge thing is why, because we're putting them in prisons. We're not putting them in treatments and places that we need help out there.
Yeah.
It's hard, and when you don't have the network or establishments or places to go to, what do you do? And when you don't have Medicaid, or you need meds and you can't afford them or do any of that. So yeah, that's my goal. I am going to do that, and I'm really interested in art therapy also. So I have plenty of goals that I still got to do here.
Well, you're still very young, Aubree, and have lots and lots of time.
Yes,
so
yes.
Thanks for sharing your
Well,
story, and congratulations.
Yes.
Let's focus on the successes, Aubree, because there have been many, many, many of them. You have.
Thank you. And you too, Maz. I'm proud of
you. I appreciate it.
How long do you have now?
4 years, 4 months, 2 weeks and 6 days.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That is so cool. You must have the app on your phone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you get that app on your phone.
I do actually have that app.
Oh, you do? Phone. Okay.
I was like, if you know that, you have to have it.
No, it comes with the AA Big Book app. Every time you open up, it tells you.
Oh,
it tells you how long it's been since your sobriety.
Really, that's awesome. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, we can be proud. We can be proud of everybody coming out of our households, because it is a family disease. You go through it together. You hit the bottom together, and you slowly make your way to the top together. So
yes,
kudos to you, Aubree.
My gosh,
and
yes.
We're just down the street. So if we can be,
I know, right?
You just let us know. All right.
All you have to do is yell.
Thank you guys so much for it. I know, right?
It
see you guys.
We'll see you soon, Aubree.
All right, thank you.
See you tomorrow. Thanks.
Care.
All right. Yep. Bye-bye, guys.